And welcome aboard the Paul Gallant Show, live by Radio Row from a non-handicapped bathroom stall in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. This is the most interactive sports talk show in Houston. A lot of people yesterday were calling the show out for not being authentic. They were saying that I was telling a lie about being in a bathroom stall in Las Vegas. And we have upped our game. I called David Gow yesterday and I said, look, people don't believe that we're by Radio Row. So we got some microphones so that we could really complete the effect. Now, if you're watching youtube.com/ESPN Houston or twitch.tv/ESPN 97.5, you might notice that I'm in a big studio and you're probably thinking to yourself, Paul, there's no way this isn't a handicap stall. Nope, we just have amazing green screen technology thanks to our very hardworking digital team that never takes any shortcuts or days off. So look at us right now. You see this? This is actually a bathroom stall by Radio Row in Las Vegas, right, Brian McDonald?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Our team here talked to the people at Marvel, the same people that made Thanos look like he was on the planet Titan. He wasn't really there. We're in Vegas. We're not really in the studio.
Exactly. So don't believe the fake news. Don't believe what the flagship station would tell you about us, okay? Now, while we're on the flagship station, I, on a serious note, despise this week of radio. I think Radio Row's dumb. I had a great time going to it 3 times. All 3 of those times, my Patriots were in a Super Bowl. That was cool, but I don't understand why someone would tune in to my show to hear somebody else who is probably going to be very disinterested in just me as a whole. And then on top of that, you, the listener, unless it comes to promoting whatever product there is. I have never understood why people enjoy Radio Row or why radio companies shell out huge money to Las Vegas hotels, Las Vegas, I guess, Radio Row setup, the NFL, etc. I've never understood it.
You don't want to hear Tim Brown pitch some new pitching machine?
No, Brian, I don't. I don't want to hear anything, in fact, from these people. And look, if you listen to this show, we only like to bring guests in studio. I don't like having conversations with people over the phone, especially if they're only for like 5-6 minutes, unless we can get a really big name. But let's be honest, that's sometimes hard to do in this little game that we like to call radio. So I've never understood the idea of Radio Row. But I do understand right now, if you are working here or at the flagship station, you're probably trying to get all the Texans content that you possibly can right now. Everybody's getting high off of that supply again. Everyone's excited about them. Everyone's hoping for the best from them going forward. Now, the flagship is no different. While they are on Radio Row, they are obviously going to try to milk this thing as long as they possibly can until the cow is completely dry. Now, when I worked there, for those who don't know, I did. I was never told to talk Texans by my boss, unlike the person who claims that happened, but now actually works for them. Other than that one time the PD held a gun to my head, I have never been told to talk Texans. Brian McDonald, you used to be at the flagship as well. I don't know.
No, I worked on the afternoon show there that no longer exist, and we were never told to talk Texans specifically.
Never happened, but it was heavily implied, whether it was with a gun to the head or a brass knuckle.
No, that was just like the Tuesday meeting. You come in, you grab a Danish, a gun's to your head, and we talk about sports.
Right. There'd be a couple people in there with sunglasses on and Uzis. Maybe they were from the Israeli consulate upstairs. Whatever the case, they're just hanging out there, and it's like, hey, you know what you're supposed to do there, okay? But I'm going to go behind the scenes. I'm going to, give you a little look underneath the kimono of how prepping for a show worked.
Why'd you start doing a shivvy with your jacket?
With my jean jacket? Well, this is how I would show
That's
people.
That's how you illustrate a peek behind the scenes?
Right. From this bathroom stall in Las Vegas.
By doing a burlesque show? for the Twitch audience with your
just
jacket?
swinging my thing
All
around.
right.
What, ladies?
You do you, Paul.
Ladies can do it upstairs, but I can't do it downstairs. Sounds.
Well, if you're wanting to do it, you should start an OnlyFans. You might as well get paid for it.
You keep on pushing me towards this OnlyFans. I mean, one day.
Are you against money?
Just like Ben Affleck in Good Will Hunting. Someday I might just not show up, and you'll know where I went. I went to OnlyFans. But here is a behind the kimono scenes of how prepping for a radio show worked at the old flagship. One, you'd go to Pro Football Talk. You just go to Pro Football Talk for everything. 90% of the content over at the flagship is literally from
and hell,
Pro
they had
Football Talk.
Florio on like 3 times a week at one point.
Right, exactly. And look, I like Florio. I think Florio comes up with some really hot takes from time to time that I don't agree with, but I like Pro Football Talk as a website. Then you find an aggregated story. Either it is about the Texans or it's an aggregated story that you can spin back to the Texans. Localize this, right? So
I've heard that segment.
I never have, but I'm just saying we localize it. So here's an example. And this is something I saw yesterday on Pro Football Talk. And this is during the really dry months when you're squeezing that cow. You're squeezing old Toro for all the milk, even though he's a bull and probably doesn't produce any. Unless he's maybe had a little steroid injection or something like that, a little extra something. So here's a story. This is from Pro Football Talk. C.J. Stroud, happy to have Bobby Slowick back as his play caller. That's the headline. Now, the story is from the weekend. It's from the Pro Bowl games, an NFL.com story with a couple of quotes that are 100% nothing burgers. Here's one. About Bobby Slowick's return, C.J. Stroud said this. Yeah, I'm excited. It's another year with a good coach. We've got a lot of good chemistry. It's a real good thing. And then you turn that into something else. This is where things would get a little bit overcomplicated over at the flagship. But I don't know how they do things these days. I truly don't. Maybe it's better. But after that, you see that story, you would have to create something called a topic tree.
Paul, can I tell you I have PTSD from the meetings about topic trees?
We both had to deal with this. Imagine being told by somebody how to run a radio show. Has nothing to do with actually having a conversation with the person that is in the same room as you. It's about creating a topic tree. What does that mean? I don't know, but just imagine that talking about C.J. Stroud saying literally just this. It's another year with a good coach.
Well, you had to have the point, and then you had to make a branch off of it. Then you go back to the point
Exactly.
to support the original point, and you branch off again, and it was this all drawn on a white chalkboard.
We had an effing whiteboard.
Oh, my God.
We had an effing whiteboard. They had a whiteboard telling us how to talk about this stuff. Now, again, it might be different.
It wasn't for us. I experienced the exact same thing. We have shared trauma.
I have no sour feelings towards anybody there. I want
towards
that to be known.
that person we're talking about.
Not even that person who fired me. Not even that person.
I do.
I don't have.
This is me, Brian McDonald, saying I do.
Okay, so we differ on that front. Look, you got to move on in life at some point, but sometimes it's hard to. But those meetings were traumatic because you just sit there and then something as simple as C.J. Stroud says Bobby Slowick is a good coach would turn into what topic trees? Well, what topic trees are you going to do? One of them would be, how much longer is Bobby Slowick going to work with C.J. Stroud? Another one of those topics would be, wait a second, are the Texans perhaps holding C.J. Stroud back by not promoting Gerard Johnson to the offensive coordinator over Bobby Slowick? And another angle of that would be, wait a second, how much say should DeMeco Ryans have over the offense? He's the one running the whole thing. Should Bobby Slowick have complete autonomy from DeMeco Ryans? This is the kind of stuff that we had to do. And I swear to God, there was a time where I actually bought hook, line, and sinker to this way of doing things.
Yeah,
I swear.
I did temporarily.
It's shameful for me to admit, but I used to be this. And I have just had time to reflect and think about whether or not this is entertaining for the average person. And I think, Brian, for the average person, when you're going that far into the weeds over something that is as small as that and trying to overanalyze it like that, that is where you lose the casual person who just wants to talk about sports and have a good time.
Yeah, I think you could just, if you really wanted to talk about all those things that branched off the original thought, just lose the original thought because the quote that you read is there's nothing there. If you want to make the point that either C.J. Stroud is better or worse because Slowick is back or Gerard Johnson, whatever, just make that point and go from there.
Exactly. But you see, this is the thing. This is the thing. You know,
frustrating.
Some people aren't creative, and on top of that, you realize that sometimes being creative doesn't really have any perks in the end game. Some people just want this like really absolutely bare bones, simple, like a bit of Texans content. They just want you to talk about like, oh, where does Bobby Slowick rank among offensive coordinators across the NFL? Like it gets into that. And for me, I've broken from that. Now, does that make me special or different? No, it doesn't. I'm just saying I've gone on a different route. And when I see the people that are actually on Radio Row, because we're, of course, doing this from a non-handicapped bathroom stall, a single one, not a handicap. We're not barbarians. At Radio Row, I'm just thinking about what they're doing. Is it weird that I'm thinking about what they're doing? Yeah, maybe it's a little bit of jealousy. I mean, I would love to be in Las Vegas, but I don't trust myself. I do not trust myself on Radio Row again. Last time I was on Radio Row, I showed up for a show legitimately 2 minutes before it went on the air because I had, honestly, one of the worst benders of my life. One that led me to a point where I thought about never drinking again.
Which one was this?
This was Atlanta. I have no idea how.
Okay, I wasn't at that one. The only one I got to go to was the one here in town in Houston. For Patriots Falcons.
I have no idea, B-Mac. I have no idea how I made it to that show. I sat down, and do you know what the best part was? Like, again.
Was that you and Beard or you and Rocket?
No. This was when they brought me on the morning show to save me, which was, thanks for that. That was really fair to have a
We've had that conversation off the air.
Save a morning show. No, F it, I don't care. But I showed up at a moment in time where I wasn't really happy doing this show anymore. I showed up like 3 minutes before the start of the show. And look, I got beautiful hair. Sometimes you have to shower to make the hair look like this. Like right now, it looks immaculate. It doesn't always look that way when I wake up and roll out of bed. I have no idea how I didn't look or smell intoxicated. I have no idea, but hey, we made it through the show. And now everyone has seen behind the kimono. One, how
you
things
do the
work
shimmy again?
On the work, how things work on the air at the flagship station, and how things sometimes worked behind the scenes at the flagship station.